have most of the weekend for myself, and I went through a lot of this stuff. So I can probably talk for about 2 hours, but I've got a ferry to catch at 10 after 10 or I don't get home tonight. So I'll stick to the 5 minutes. What I am going to do is actually start with my recommendations. And if there's any time left over, I can maybe give a explanation of how I got there. I don't have a position on the event center yet because I don't think there's enough. I don't have enough information to make a decision myself. I think the people you've hired have done a tremendous amount of work in a short period of time. Like, I can't believe, actually how much has gotten done. I've been involved in this business myself. I know what it takes to mobilize staff on such short notice. So I think you're on the right track here, what I would say. So I have 7 recommendations that I think you should add to your resolution. We've already got 11 recommendations. The first one is to do what I would call a community assessment of the costs and benefits of this project. Right now we've gotten a lot of information on the benefits, but we haven't got very much information on what the potential costs could be. And if we do a community assessment, look at it broadly in terms of social development, economic development, how this might affect the environment, as you would a sustainability plan, I think we would be in a better position to determine whether this in fact is going to go ahead. Just to give you an example, the MNP study talks about the economic impact of the new construction input-output model. If we're using money that is already in the community, i.e. 100% paid for by our tax base, this is not new money coming into the community. It is money that would have already got spent, either by council or it would have been left in the hands of the taxpayers, and they would have spent it. If we get money from the federal government, that's new money, or a private sector person comes in, that's new money. Then, in fact, the MNP numbers start to make sense. But if it's 100% public money from Nanaimo, we're not going to get those economic benefits. We might have it. There's an impact, but it's just a reallocation of money that is already in our community. Along the same lines, we have a junior hockey team in here, the Clippers. I've never been to the game. They did a great job analyzing the impact of bringing in a WHL team. But if they come in, do the Clippers leave? Coaches, trainers, bus drivers, players, other teams. So how does that get deducted out of that impact? That'll give you what your benefit is. So there needs to be, I think, a bit more study that way. So I would suggest that you do it. The other one that goes along with this one is I've looked through those reports, read them very clearly, and tried to say, where's the new information here that tells us really about what's going to happen as a result of building this center and the trade area, how it's going to respond to it. And the best that I could find was we have information from the Port Theatre that says 20% of their tickets are outside of Nanaimo, 10% are off the island. And if we're going to plan an event center based around those numbers, are those the same people going to the Port Theatre that are going to go to the monster trucks and the rodeos? Can we apply that information and say that's correct? In a previous presentation, Mr. Green suggested we might actually go from that 30% to 35%. Well, it's somebody's opinion. I don't see some real rigor that is being put to that information. The Myers-Norris penny talking about accommodations. That's a great revenue generator for the community, but it's based on Kelowna experience. That's been when I read the report. So I look at this and go, gee, some of this market stuff to me I think is built on a house of cards. So that's where I wonder, let's go back, review some of the information with a community assessment. Make sure sober second thought is being done properly. My second recommendation, delay the detailed design. The proposed phasing program referred to it that in phase 3 a detailed design was going to be done. According to the information that was put out on Friday, there's been $495,000 spent to date. I think you've got good value for your money. But if you go to detailed design, they'll know the answer better than me. We could be looking anywhere from $500,000 to $3 million. I mean, if they're just doing functional schematics, it's a lot less. But if it's full detailed design, golly, that's a huge amount of money to be spending here without perhaps having all the information that we need. A financial advisor. I don't know what the terms of reference are going to be for the financial advisor that's being suggested, but I would suggest Go have the financial advisor, go have him talk to the adjacent municipalities. Don't make this a city in Nanaimo project. Make it a regional project. You've got a letter from the Ladysmith School District. Bring in Ladysmith, bring in Parksville, Lanceville, the regional district. Perhaps you can get them to help fund part of this. So it isn't all on the backs of the city of Nanaimo taxpayers.
I have to get you to wrap up, sir.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm sorry. How much time do I have?
You're out of time.
Okay.
I was actually going to take a minute from your previous
Can I say
overtime.
one more? One more. Just
One point.
more. Thank you.
So you're.
I see nowhere in the recommendations where you're actually doing a risk assessment. I know it says that the words intentional risk management, but put it right in there as one of the 11 recommendations. Hire a risk manager, a third party who's independent of council, staff, and consultants to look back at the big picture and say, right, is everyone looking at this with an open mind? That's all. Thank you for the extra time.
Councillor Thorpe has a question for you.
Yes, comment actually, if I may, Chair. Thank you through you to the delegation. I just wanted to point out that I voted against allowing you to speak a second time, and that was only because I didn't like the precedent that was being set. But I do appreciate your comments, as I appreciate the comments of all that have taken the time to come tonight and speak. I think people have made some excellent points, both for and against. I'll be speaking more on my views on this proposal a little bit later, but I just want to acknowledge you and the others that have spoken. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Fuller.
You mentioned adding a risk assessment.
Yes.
Well, I look at the next thing and the 11 things there, and there's a lot that isn't mentioned in there, risk assessment. What's also not mentioned in there, and this has been brought up once before, twice during the meeting, and also I see it mentioned from the public, is consultation with the Nanaimo people and First Nations. And that is something that we will be doing. We will be having further consultation with the Nanaimo. Their original village sites were at both of these locations. So it behooves us as a city to consult with them. So it's not in here, but we will be doing that.
Yeah.
Archaeological assessments will have to be done. So there's a lot of work, including these 11 items, to do. And I would hazard to guess a risk assessment as part of that.
Yeah, I think
as well as the other aspects.
I have to agree. I think that's really important because when I read the reports, it always seemed to be best case scenario to a large degree. And you know, if you look at like the Lethbridge Hurricanes, they're in a facility for 5,000 attendees. They went on a 6-year losing streak. Their attendance plummeted to 3,000 a game. But they were counting their attendance by tickets sold. But many of the season ticket holders weren't showing up. So you're actually only getting 1,400 or 1,500 to a game at the bottom of the trough. That had a huge impact then on concessions and beverage sales. So I think you have to do 2 scenarios as part of this risk assessment. Best case, you know, not worst case, but golly, something that's reasonable.
And then we could look at the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Thank you, sir. No more questions.